So, right now, I have a specific story in mind that I want to talk about, but for the story to have its full meaning, I'm going to have to go into a bit of detail about my history and past and stuff. And it is about me and my sort of sexual awakening as an early teen and masturbation habits and thoughts. And if that isn't comfortable for you, then feel free to not listen to this. But that is where that's what this story is going to be talking about and describing and discussing. So, to start out, I guess I don't know exactly where I would like to start the tale, but well, I started masturbating and jerking off at age 11 on my Nintendo 2DS, because that's all I had at the time to look up things. And it was actually kind of funny. The first time that I masturbated, I didn't know how to do it or what it even was. I just sort of had this innate feeling of, oh, hey, maybe I had seen things online about it as well, but I thought, oh, what if I find some lubricant and rub my penis with it? And then I did it, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I never knew this world existed at all. And I didn't know how anything was done or like what proper methods were, though I don't know if there are any proper methods. It's not like it's something that's taught. But I was standing up and walking around my room at like 3 o'clock in the morning while jerking off. I'm like, you know what? Something about this is good, but also something about it isn't good. But I was really too lost in the pleasure to notice any of that. Just, my first real sexual experience, I suppose, with myself. I couldn't think about anything other than what I was feeling, which is similar to now, I suppose. But that was the first time I masturbated, and it would go on. I had my Nintendo 2DS and you know, material to jack off to, and so I continued doing that for a long time. Um, I was more religious back during those times. For context, I am 16 now, and so this really wasn't that long ago, but it was long enough ago, like maybe a third of my life ago, that I can sort of talk in the past tense and talk as if it was a different me, because it pretty much was. I'm not the same person as I was then, though it is kind of dumb that it's only a 4-year period, but I am not the same. But I was more religious then, and so I ended up talking to my father about it more. I think it started when he caught me. It took me a while to realize that, oh, when you jerk off, you can look at like pictures of sexy women or whatever you find sexually arousing, or even not sexually arousing, just interesting. And it took me a while to figure out that, oh, I can masturbate and look at those things. Because I've been looking at porn and hentai for a while, and erotic images, erotic art, but I didn't start masturbating to erotic art until a little bit later. I would masturbate at times, and I would look at erotic art at times, but I wouldn't put two and two together and find the ultimate combination. And so I was in one of our family rooms that no one was in. There were two doors keeping it shut. Watching Bleach at the time and just jerking off while watching Bleach, not to the show or to any ideas, but to the, I don't know, just thoughts in my mind and just feeling the sensations of having my wiener be pleased, while also trying to consume the art that is Bleach the animation. And I think my dad walked in at that point, and I tried to hide it, but he figured out pretty quickly, like, oh, hey, actually, David's jerking off. I had some weird system set up to where if someone walked in, they wouldn't know what I was doing. I think it was under a blanket. I'm not sure. It was odd. But I ended up talking to him first then. I didn't really care at that point. But later on, uh, I started to get the idea into my head that, oh, I shouldn't express myself sexually at all, and I shouldn't jerk off or look at any hentai art or pornographic art, because that's not what God wants, and that is not God's plan for me. He doesn't want me to do that. And so I gave up my Nintendo 2DS and I started trying to just go without masturbating. Because at that point, I was sort of jerking it every day, maybe multiple times a day too, depending on the time. Sometimes there were lulls in it where it was like once every few days, but usually it was twice a day, once or twice a day for long periods of time. And sometimes if I was feeling really anxious, or not anxious, just like really horny at that point, 3, 4, or 5 times. Just what you'd expect from a teenage boy, just being sexually awakened. That I can touch the wiener. But I stopped doing that, or I tried to stop doing it, and I couldn't. I would maybe last a day or two at a time, and then I would jerk off again. And I felt horrible about this. I felt horrible that I kept disappointing God. That even though I wanted to please Him, and I wanted to be better, I didn't want to be sinning anymore, as my bishop and parents had told me so. I wanted to be a person worthy of respect and worthy of God's love. And, if He doesn't like me when I'm jerking off, then it sucks that I keep doing it, because I was somewhat addicted at that point. And I didn't have my Nintendo 2DS or anything to access pornography with, or hentai, because I really don't like looking at pornography that much, because it's for me, it's gross the way it's made and the industry around it. There are some porn companies that do, that are much more humane than others, but it's hard for me to distinguish them from each other. I really only know about the good ones because of Critical or Charlie on YouTube or Penguin Zero. Penguins Zero. He talks about the good porn companies sometimes. I don't remember any of their names because I don't care enough for that, but I do, going off of his knowledge, there is good for it, but a lot of it is bad, and I don't even really want to touch it. And so I mainly look up hentai because of the art, the specific fetishization. You can do fictional characters much better, and the story. The stories in hentai are often leagues ahead of pornographic stories, just because it's the acting in it isn't good. The writing usually isn't that good either. Sometimes it is, but often it isn't. And I would have the most enjoyment out of looking at pornography when they don't even bother with a story. It's just, hey, here's a girl. Now she's going to do sexual things. Fill in the blanks yourself. It doesn't really matter. That was a bit of a side tangent. I like hentai more, but I didn't have anything to look at. And I had, at that point, I think this was around years 12, 13, and 14, I was masturbating still, but I didn't have anything. And so it was a lot harder, took a lot longer, and I sort of like had a reliance on the hentai at that point. A reliance to get myself off. I can't just do it on my own with the raw sensation and pleasure of touching my wiener anymore, right? It's not like when I first started where I could just get up and walk around my room and masturbate. And, oh, that feels nice. I can get off to just the sensation. No, I had to have some idea or sexual object to apply it to. Or apply my energy and focus to. And so I would think of people in my real life that I knew, I would just imagine them naked and having sex with them. Which a lot of the time it ended up being friends at school, just, random people that I think were hot, maybe neighbors or something that I don't even really have a relation to. I just think that they happened to hit my personal kink strike zone, which is very wide. I have a very wide kink zone. I can get off to almost anything. Which, I don't know. I'm personally proud of that fact. Proud might be the wrong word, but I appreciate that somehow I have gained that ability. That no matter what it is, what story, or what the content is, no matter how weird or interesting it is, I can still look at it and find romantic and sexual attraction to it. That's cool for me. But I would masturbate to ideas of people. And in my family, I have 6 sisters and 1 brother. And when times weren't great, I suppose. And at that point, I don't think I really had a good relationship with anyone in my family. I would imagine my sisters naked and imagine me having sex with them. Incestual relationships, I suppose. And it somewhere in me, I knew like, oh, that's not right. I shouldn't do that. But I don't really care because hey, I can just sexually objectify them. They're just the same as all other women, I suppose. Well, when I'm jerking off, they're the same. When I interact with them, then it's good. I'm the youngest of 8 siblings, by, and so all of them are older than me. And I'll just imagine all of them naked or having sex or doing sexual things or like whatever, it doesn't really matter. And so I sort of had that idea in my head that, oh, I've sexualized my sisters now. That's not great. That's not good. But I would still jerk off and imagine them and other people. And it was a very not great time in my life just because I felt so horrible that I was sinning and God didn't love me. And that the problem wasn't that I wanted to stop and I couldn't, I believe now. I'm looking at it in retrospect, but that I did not want to stop, and I didn't have a reason to stop, but I still wanted to feel loved and respected by my parents and my bishop at church, right? I wanted to have them think, hey, that is a good person, and if a good person cannot jerk off, then because they jerk off, they cannot be a good person. That's what I truly wanted. I wanted to be accepted. I didn't actually want to stop jerking off, which now I'm in a place where I do masturbate, not nearly as frequently, but I have some people around me who do accept me and, give me love and not have the love with the stigma of, oh, but you're doing impure things, and so my love isn't as much as it could be, and I'm disappointed in you because of it. And well, that's sort of setting up a stage. I don't feel good about what I did because I do love my family and I have a much better relationship with people now, and I'm not proud of doing that. I don't idolize it or think it was okay in any way. I understand the logic and the rationalization of, oh, my sisters are all hot because they all are really smoking hot and cute in their own ways. But that doesn't mean that I'm allowed to objectify them or anybody in my brain. Objectify them in any sense or for any reason. Not because of some higher, greater purpose that, oh, you just shouldn't objectify people in general, but because I don't want that. And I don't want to diminish my love and add on sexual ideas and identities and thoughts with it. That's why I don't like it now. But that's now. And then I did the things. And, after a while, I ended up getting a tablet or a phone to look at hentai again. And so I did that, and years go on, and I get more into hentai games and playing, rather than just experiencing a story, through the author's lens. I got more into playing games. That way I'd have more of an interactive experience for it. And often people would put more effort into longer form hentai in games than in hentai doujinshi or videos or singular art. And so I wanted to experience long form gratification like that. And there was this one game, I don't remember what it's called. Actually, wait. Now that I think about it, I believe it's called Dual Family. You can go and download it now. It's a pretty good art. It's 3D CG, which sometimes it's very hit or miss for me whether 3D CG hentai is good. But this one had good enough, or the art fit my aesthetic sensibilities enough that I'm going to give it a go. Right? Characters look cute and fuckable, and that's all I really need. Color palette looks nice as well. The idea of the game is that, oh, you can either play as there's a family of 4, mother, father, daughter, son, and you can play as either the father or the son. And if you play as the father, then you romance the sister in the family, like the younger daughter that you have. And if you play as the son, then you romance the older mother that you have. And so, that's sort of the idea. It's a fragmented. The way the game was pitched in the description was that it there's a fragmented family that all kind of hates each other, but you can somehow put it back together and also gain sexual love from it. Something like that. Of course, it was written much more interestingly and not as a matter of fact, adds a little flair to it, but that is what the game's contents are. And naturally, I picked the son just because I am a son in a family. And yeah, in the game, well, the game itself doesn't actually. It's important to the story. I've played the game in my own room at night, and at this point, I didn't really have a good relationship with anybody in my life, actually. I felt like no one really cared about me all that much. Not that they didn't care about me, but they didn't show me all the attention that I want. They didn't shower me with attention and completely adore and love me, which is understandable because I hadn't done and still haven't done enough things for them and for myself to better myself to the point where people would adore me to that level, or done enough things for any specific person that they would adore me. Of course, there's push and pull with that. It's not just giving, but that is a thought. And in the game, you know, gameplay just goes by your daily lives, and you start to interact with your mother more. There are little dialogue options, little games and experiences you can have, and eventually, hey, you end up loving each other and you fuck. Cool. Good hentai. But, or in theory, if you can get past the incestuous premise, which naturally I could, seeing as I downloaded it. And after some point in the game, randomly, there aren't any of this before or after, but a dream sequence occurs where you are sitting on an airplane, an empty passenger plane, near the back in this dream sequence. And if you look out the windows, it's just complete dark. And from the cockpit comes out this. This dual family has no fantastical elements to it at all. It's all very straightforward and realistic, as in you don't, do any fantasy magic stuff or anything even fantastical at all in this story. But a skeleton man walks out from the cockpit, walks up to you, and just starts talking to you about stuff. And essentially, he proposes the question to you, well, kid, why are you doing the things that you do? Why are you trying to get with your mother? That doesn't seem right. That seems pretty fucked up. But why are you doing that? And then he gives you a choice. And it's a literal choice in the game, and you can choose one or the other. The skeleton says if you want to try to understand yourself better and understand why you're doing the things you do, come up to the cockpit with me and we can talk. If you don't care and you want to dive deeper into your obsessions, then go ahead and jump out the back of the plane into deeper unknowns. And for me, this was the developer trying to explain themselves and maybe their own thoughts on this sort of fucked up premise where I'm trying to go and have sexual relations with the person who birthed me, my mother, or the person who is my own daughter. I'm trying to take advantage of them completely and utterly. And you have a choice to either jump off or go into the cockpit. And jumping off for me was the developer saying, if you've come for the hentai and the visuals and just really you've come for the gratification and that's it, then pick this option. Pick the dive deeper into obsessions and I'll get out of your hair, right? But if maybe you want to think about what you're doing and why you're playing this sort of game and what led you to this situation, then come to the cockpit and I'll maybe talk about my experience or explain some things. And I, being curious as I am, decided to go to the cockpit to hear what the skeleton had to say. Keep in mind, I'm in my room, in my bed, playing this game on my tablet little phone thing at like 2 in the morning. Just because I stayed up late to play games, because why not? And you go into the cockpit room, skeleton is like, hey man, I'm glad you decided to come hang out with me and chill, because essentially it's just the developer talking straight to me. And I don't remember exactly how the scene goes, but Skeleton Man tells you that what you're doing is fucked. That you are trying to manipulate a broken person into having sexual relations with you because, not just a broken person, but your own mother, the person that you should love, care, and respect because of her contributions towards you. She is in a rough spot right now, and you are trying to take advantage of that for your own fucked up reasons, your own sexual gratification, your own complexes. Trying to take that out on your mother for whatever reason. And that is not okay. You can't do it the way you are. And the skeleton goes on and says, well, maybe what you're doing isn't so horrible, but you have to do it the proper way. You can't have the sexual gratification. You can't have a sexually gratifying experience without putting work into it first and making sure that all parties understand and consent to what is going on. You can't try to force broken people into imagining things that aren't real so you can get your dick wet. You can't do that. You have to go through the proper channels, no matter who it is. I believe in this moment, in the moment it used the example of the mother, like, oh, if you want to have sex with your mother, you have to be clear with your intentions, let her know what's going on, and actually try to woo her yourself, which I don't know how much I agree with that, but I believe more the developer was telling me that you can't keep living the way you are. You can't just keep going day in, day out, jerking off, and ignoring the other side of relationships, which is the give and take. If you leave that alone, then nothing means anything, and you are committing evil acts. That is what it means to me now. At the time, I wasn't sure what the skeleton was saying or what it all meant, but I understood that it had meant something profound to me. And after that, I turned the game off, because it's hard to continue to try to have a wish fulfillment masturbation fantasy when you've been told, hey, you probably shouldn't do that because it's fucked. And in that moment, thoughts of my sisters and what I had done in my brain to them, sexualizing them and dehumifying them, came back to me, and I decided that I can't just live with that forever. I can't just boil that in me and say, oh, well, yada yada yada, it was okay because yada yada yada, it's understandable because whatever. That is not okay, and I had to do something. And so in that moment, while listening to the Trophy Gallery theme from Brawl on loop, I decided to talk to one of my sisters about the thoughts I had had, right? That, hey, at some point, I, in my head, sexually objectified you and made you less of a person, and I've thought of you somewhat as that way for a while. I'm starting to come off of it now, but it's been really bad, and I want to apologize, and I want to let you know what's going on through my head. And I think at the end of the text, because this is the first time I really reached out to someone about anything, I said, it's okay if you don't want to talk to me anymore. Because I really built up a story in my head that if my sisters were to know, they would hate me. Because, hey, how could I like, One-san idolizing pervert brother? How could I love that? How could I interact with that? But, with the sister I did contact. The next day, I ended up actually talking to her because since I'm the youngest, most of them are actually moved out, and the one sister I talked to had already moved out at that point. And I ended up talking to her the next day because our family was just getting together for something, and she accepted me. And she said, "Hey, I don't condone your actions, but thank you for telling me, and we can move on from here." And now it's one of the most fulfilling and deepest relationships I have with somebody. I feel as if I can say anything and talk about whatever with her, and her to me as well, because I broke that ice. But it all happened because a developer in a hentai game decided that they wanted to try to change. They wanted to try to help people. And, even though there's so much perverted stuff in this story, so much anguish and, well, just confusion and stupid decisions I've made, that's beautiful.